Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome to week 4 in our middle school preview class. This is our final week, and we're going to talk about working in your classes. So, what are our goals for this video? We're going to talk about our trimester grading policy, a Summit Learning Charter. We're going to look at some sample pacing guides. We're going to talk about due dates in a Canvas class and getting grades and feedback in a Canvas class. We're going to look at a sample progress report. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what a typical school week looks like. All right, let's just dive right on in. So at Summit Learning Charter, we operate in trimesters. A trimester is we have three 12-week trimester periods. So fall, winter, spring. Each one of those are 12 weeks long. And we call them trimesters because you're doing a full semester class in that 12-week period. In general, if you're a full-time student, you're doing 4 classes each trimester. So you may have language arts, math, an elective class, and PE, one trimester, and the next trimester have 4 different classes. Certain classes are offered during specific trimesters. For example, most of you will have math in the fall and math in the winter, but then in the spring, do something else. Or you may have science in the fall and science in the spring, but not science in the winter. And the reason we can do that is because you're doing a full semester, and a semester is a fancy way for saying half of the class each trimester. So if you do, for example, 6th grade math A in the fall, and you get that done, that's the first half of your 6th grade math. 6th grade math B, you would take in the winter. When you finish both A and B, you've finished an entire year of 6th grade math. Now, many of you are also going to do some sort of math thing in the spring because we want you to keep up your math skills, but hopefully you get the idea of A's and B's and kind of how we do trimesters. So language arts is typically in the fall and winter. Science is winter and spring, and social studies is typically fall and spring. And then we split up health and PE, we split up electives, and there's different ways we kind of organize out the trimester. So you got classes, possibly up to 4, and there's a lot of flexibility in where and when you work on those classes. That's one of the strengths of our school, is a lot of you are working from home. You can work in the evenings, you can work in the mornings, you can work in the afternoons. It helps fit around your other schedule if you have sports or music or some other class thing going on. But keep in mind, all classes should be finished by the end of the trimester. If you've got your 4 classes and you start them, the goal is you're finishing them up by the end of the trimester so that next term you get some new classes. And by the end of the year, you've finished everything that you need to for your 6th grade year. You're ready to move on to 7th grade content. You can finish early and start 7th grade early. We have a lot of students that like to work ahead and they get excited about their classes. If you get behind though, that causes problems because now you're getting behind in grade level. It means for whatever reason, things were too hard or you got stuck or we just didn't organize yourself very well. And we have a lot of supports to try and help work with students to make sure that you're finishing by the end of the trimester and catching up if you need to. So how do you know if you're on track? How do you know if you've done enough every day? Well, every one of our classes has a pacing guide. That means there are due dates laid out really nicely so you know how far along you should be at any point. You'll know if you're behind, you'll know if you're ahead, you'll know if you're right on track, you'll know where your grade is. And so we try to make it not a surprise. So let's talk about some ways to keep track of your pacing and how you're doing in a class. Okay, here I am in our favorite middle school preview class. Little do you know, but you already have due dates. You already have a pacing guide to help you know where you should be in this class. So here I am, I'm logged in as a student. I'm on the home page, and you can see there's our modules. Right now we have a set of modules. If you don't see that, click on modules. And what this does is it shows you, remember modules help you see how the teacher wants you to work for the class. In general, for Canvas, we organize things in weekly modules. So already I can see, oh, in this first week, I should be able to do all this stuff so that I'm ready for the next week. So we try to do weekly because that is one way to help students stay organized. The other thing you'll notice is there are due dates. So if I look at week 1, I can see that I have a discussion that's due on May 10th. That means to be on pace, I should have that class, or I should do that discussion on May 10th or before. If it gets behind, if I don't have it done by May 10th, it's going to tell me that I'm behind. I'm going to go into grades. And you can see this is another way. If I go to grades, I can see all the assignments that I have to do, and I can see when I need to do them by. So both on modules, both on grades, I can see due dates, and I can make sure that I'm doing things right on time. If you go into your home page, on the right side, you'll see a list to do, and it'll even tell you, here's things that you should do, upcoming things that are due soon. I can see I should do the discussion question. I've got a quiz due on May 21st, another discussion on May 23rd. So I can look ahead and plan ahead for different due dates for different assignments. So in Canvas, if you're taking a live class, if you're taking a class built in Canvas by teachers, we organize modules by weeks, and we put due dates to help you kind of stay on pace for the term. Here's another example of a curriculum that many of you will be using. This is Edgenuity. Edgenuity we offer for 6th to 12th grade students, and has a lot of options for core classes, elective classes, and different things. And a lot of students prefer working in Edgenuity versus Canvas, or they'll do one in both, depending on what they want to do in their schedule. So when you log into Edgenuity, it'll list out your classes in what is called a card format. So here we can see that this sample student has 5 classes right now: foundational math, language arts, life science, Spanish, US history. Oh, and they got a 6th grade thing called UpSmart. Really quickly, you get a snapshot of how you're doing. In each one of these cards, you can see your grade. So for foundational math, the student has a 95%, which is a really high score. It means they're doing really well. For language arts, they have a 74% for their grade, which is a C, which is not bad. It's not really high, but it's passing, and it's pretty good. It means they're working, it means they're learning, it means they're showing that they're understanding stuff. So you can see your grades. You can also see your progress. If you look on this bar here shows the full class. The black line represents where you should be, and the bar shows you where you are. So you can see this student for foundational math is 15% complete. They've done 15% of the class, and they're actually ahead of where they should be. You can see the little bar is past the black line. If you go to language arts, you can see that they're 12% done, but since their blue bar, it matches up with the line, they're right on target. It means they're right where they should be. Things are doing pretty well. However, look at life science. Life science, there's the bar where they should be, but look at, there's the red showing that they've not done very far. They're way behind. They've only done 2% of the class, and it's even telling them, and you're behind, you need to catch up. So if I was this student, my grade is really good in life science, but I'm pretty far behind. Maybe I would take one day and just work a lot on life science and work on catching up, because I'm doing pretty well in foundational math and I'm doing pretty well in language arts. But however, so it gives you a really fast snapshot of your grade and where you are, if you're ahead, on pace, or behind. If you go in and click on a class, let's take a look at what that looks like. So this is into what's called the course map for Edgenuity, and it shows you each assignment, and it shows you each due date, and it again tells you what you've done, where you are, and kind of where you should be. So right now, this student clicked on US history. It's October 18th, or at least this is the lesson they're on right here, this lesson called warm up. And it was supposed to be due October 18th. Now, they finished these 3 assignments. So you can see the check mark. They're doing pretty good there. But right away it pops up and it says you have 26 overdue activities. So even though they're on this one, it's giving them a red icon, which means they're probably pretty far behind. They're 26 assignments behind, and it's way past October 18th. They should be all done with this one already. So the red icon, they can work hard to catch up. But the idea is if you're starting a class, you just want to stay right on pace. If it's whatever today's date is, you want to finish those lesson parts and have them done so that the next day you can start right in. So it's really easy to tell where you should be and what you should be working on as you're working through an Edgenuity class. All right. Now, you may discover pretty quickly that we have classes in Canvas. We have classes in Edgenuity. Sometimes the students opt to work in a curriculum called Odysseyware. Sometimes students opt to work in a curriculum called Acellus. And we have some students that do independent study or work study. We have a lot of different ways where we get to be creative in terms of finding the best classes that work for you as a student. Now, having a lot of different places to work on classes can be confusing. So for parents and students, we've put together a weekly progress report. A weekly progress report is sent to students and families, their learning coaches, each week. So it comes in your email inbox, and it's a little PDF that shows your grade, your progress, and your growth in all of your classes. Even if you have classes in several different places, it pulls them all together. So it makes it really easy for people to see, oh, how are you doing this week? Are you ahead? Is there stuff you should work on? And it also includes teacher contact information. And the goal is for easy access to information, right? It's hard to log into several different places and check throughout the week and interpret what's going on. So we try to really make it easy for families and students to kind of know, how are you doing? After this week, are you on pace? Are you behind? And we want to encourage communication. So we want students to follow up. If you see something, you're like, why am I behind in this class? We want families to work with teachers to say, how can I encourage my student? We want families to work with students and reward them when they are working well or when they are ahead. So again, trying to work with families, we really, really value that at Summit Learning Charter. So let's take a look at what a weekly report looks like. Okay, here's one with some typical middle school grades, and let's just break down what we're seeing. So first of all, the grades were last updated on this report for Sunday, April 14th. So if you're getting this report, and if you're reading it, and perhaps it's April 17th, know that these grades are a few days ago, and they may not be totally accurate. Sometimes families will read this and students have been working on classes for a couple days since then. And so it changes the progress, it changes the grade. And so it may not reflect accurately. So you can see when these grades were actually pulled right up top. Now, a couple other things, we pull these grades in, sometimes translating data from one system into another system and trying to make them really easy to read and understand doesn't work perfectly. So if you are looking at stuff and if you see stuff that you're not sure, well, why does it show that? Definitely contact one of us. But let's kind of take this down. So here, this student's got 4 classes, Science Live. That's in Canvas. They did 5% of the class, so they completed 5% of the class over this past week. The current grade is a 79%, which is a C. The current progress is 30%. But they're a little bit behind. You can see that ideally, if they're trying to finish this class by June 7th, they should be at 37% done. Now keep this in mind as well too. The current progress, where the student actually is, and the target pace, sometimes it's not perfect. So we do have a formula that we use in terms of the start of the term and the end of the term, and we kind of break down day by day and a rough idea of where you should be. But some students choose to work on one class more than the other and then work on a different class, so you have the flexibility to do that. Some students start a class in the middle of the term, and so then they're trying to do a class shorter, and so the target pace may not perfectly reflect where they should be. So if you see something that doesn't look right with the target and you're like, my kid is working really well, but it shows they're behind, I'm confused, again, just contact one of our teachers. We would love to talk with you through and help figure out. Again, the goal is just to have classes finished by the end of the term, and again, to share information with you guys about where things are at. So here's this student is also doing a class in social studies in Edgenuity, and then they have 2 other classes that are in Canvas. And again, there's their progress, there's their grade information, when they should be done, their grades, and this student is behind, a little bit behind in all their classes, but not doing too bad. So photography is probably the one that they could work on catching up the most because they're a little bit behind in there. So there's a little bit of breakdown. What does it mean for target date, target base, and weekly growth? And then there's teacher contact information below. So for each of the classes, see who the teacher is. There's their email. And again, if you're getting this report sent right to you, you can just click right on the email, hopefully, and open up a new email. And maybe if the photography is behind and you see that Sean Fisher is the teacher, then shoot a quick email to Sean or contact him or text and just ask, hey, it looks like my student is behind. Are there things they could do to catch up? How can I help encourage my student? That's the kind of collaboration that we really, really want. So this comes for both parents and students on a weekly basis, and it's just designed to make sure everyone is aware of what's happening, everyone can encourage each other, and we have success all the way through the term. Now, again, to follow up with this, if you have questions or if you see something that doesn't look right on the progress report, there's gonna be things that may not look right. Please just kindly call a teacher or staff member and get clarification. So some things that do come up is we have hundreds of students starting classes and ending classes, working through classes quickly, taking longer on classes, and once in a while in our system, we have a class schedule that may not exactly match with what a student's doing. Maybe a student finished a class, but it hasn't been taken off here yet, so things are looking weird on the progress report. Sometimes that happens. The class schedule may not match. Sometimes we have a glitch with pulling grades from several sources. If there's a typo in a name or if we miss a certain number here or there, sometimes the grades don't pull right away. And so if you get a report and you see a 0% for a grade, just follow up with it and ask, hey, I know my student's working. Why do they have a 0 on the progress report? And then it helps us fix things, make sure things are pulling right. Again, we love that collaboration that way. And again, especially for Canvas, sometimes the way I pull pacing in Canvas doesn't exactly fit with the pacing for that term. And so if you know your student's working well, if you know they're on pace, but it doesn't match what you see in the progress report, you can call for clarification. And we definitely want to follow that and just contact the teacher, say, hey, is my kid really behind? Or is there something not showing up right in the report? So we want to work out some of those things and make sure we're getting accurate data and interpreting the data correctly. All right, our last topic, our last goal. What does a typical school week look like for students at Summit Learning Charter? Well, every Monday, we have students, you come in and we have a homeroom class meeting with your advisor. There's all the way through Monday morning and Monday afternoon. So if one certain time doesn't work, there's usually a couple other options for times. And the homeroom meeting is just designed to kick off the week, get announcements, connect up with your advisor teacher if you have questions, and just kind of get mentally ready to start the school week. It counts as attendance, and it's a way to feel part of the actual community. So every Monday, plan on doing homeroom. Depending on your class, which classes you signed up for, you may have some live class meetings. So you may have a class on Tuesday at 10, you may have a class on Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m. Be aware of if you have live class meetings, you want to plan those in your schedule, make sure you're around. Or if you don't have live class meetings, your teacher may have scheduled tutoring times. Maybe you want to be ready for math tutoring on Wednesday morning. And so you are planning in your schedule for the week, oh, I want to connect up with my teacher. I want to get some tutoring, make sure my math class is doing well. Put that in your schedule and plan on tutoring times. All of our teachers offer times to meet both online and in person for students. For each class that you are taking, you should plan on working on that class for 1 hour each day. So for my language arts class, I should plan on doing 1 hour Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 1 hour a day. Now, you have a lot of flexibility in that. So maybe I do 2 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday, and then only 1 hour on Wednesday. Or maybe I work on just that class all day on Monday, and I just do language arts on Monday. That's fine. But you should plan on doing for that class about 5 hours a week or 1 hour each day. Some classes I would recommend spreading it out. For example, math, It's typically better to do a little bit every day, but you need to budget time. You're not going to do all of your classes in 20 minutes a day. That's just not a reasonable expectation for students. If you're taking 4 classes, if you're taking math, language arts, PE, and science, then you need to be planning on 4 hours each day for those subjects, right? 4 hours Monday, 4 hours Tuesday, 4 hours Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You may need more than 4 hours, especially if you have a big project you're doing, or if you're just not the quickest learner in that particular subject. You can have more than that. You may have some times where you do all the stuff you need to for a day and it takes less than that. But you gotta have some time budgeted. You're a student, you need to make sure there's time in your day for that. And finally, we have enrichment class and tutoring options at our Eagle Creek or Tigard campuses, and we love to have students come on there. So if you're doing fully online and you're working from home, that's fine. But we have a lot of great opportunities we really want you to take advantage of. If you can come on Tuesday at Eagle Creek, or if you can come Monday at Tigard and you can meet with some of our teachers, you can work with some other students, you can take some interesting class opportunities. There's just a lot of really good stuff. I invite you to get on our website and just see all that we do at our different campuses. But that's typically what a school week looks like. You got times where you're online, times where you're meeting, you're interacting with teachers, you're working on your classes. You may be attending classes and different opportunities and field trips, or you may be working a lot from home, but it should take the bulk of your school week. All right, it's your turn. Hopefully you got a little bit of an idea about what a student and working through classes looks like. Definitely need to be aware of how much you're doing. You need to be aware of grades. You need to be aware of attending certain things at certain times. But let's just do some practice. If you look around in our Canvas class, in our middle school preview class, you'll notice that there are some due dates in there. You'll notice that you are going to get graded on some things. And both Mr. Shellicout and myself will give you some grades and feedback. And you can tell, am I on pace? Am I going to get this done by the end of the term? Are there things I should do? Are there things I can wait and do next week? Practice some of those skills right now. Lastly, this is our final lesson. This is our final video for the week. So talk with your family. How might school look for you next year? Are you excited about 6th grade? What kind of classes are you going to take? Are you going to be all online classes? Are you going to be attending campus? Are you going to do some of our live class meetings and meet online with other students? Are you going to work more independently? There's a lot of things to talk about. Our advisors, our teachers, we would love to meet with you and help you through any of these questions that you may have. And then congratulations, once you finish this week 4, you are all done and you'll have a good jump start on being ready for 6th grade.